Hey guys, Adam here with AmericanTrucks.com, and today we're taking a quick look at and of course installing the Corsa closed box cold air intake with the Donaldson PowerCore filter, available for the 19 and newer 5.7 Ram 1500, excluding the classic model. You should be checking this out if you're looking to ditch the factory intake in favor of an aftermarket cold air intake that's going to help lower your intake temperatures, resulting in a nice bump in horsepower and torque figures, while also giving you a nice throttle response and acceleration bump, and of course giving you a better breathing engine and overall a better sounding engine too. This option from Corsa is the closed box option, which basically means that the air box surrounding your filter is completely closed off, sealing out the engine bay heat but keeping in that cold air. Now this one's going to increase the volume of cold air coming in, but it's not going to require a tune. Right out of the box, you can bolt it up under the hood and get going. No need for a custom tune or any more extra money that you have to spend to make it work. It's a really nice out of the box feature. Now, the filter itself is the Donaldson PowerCore G2 filter, which uses an ultra web nano microfiber technology, and it's a dry filter. Now, the dry filter is going to need a lot less maintenance than an oiled filter. It's more better suited for the areas that are seeing a lot of air pollution. If you're going off-road a lot, if you're working on the job site, if you're working in a dry climate area, this won't clog up as much as an oiled filter would in those circumstances. Oiled filters typically are the best of both worlds, but the dry filter is really easy on maintenance, and you can use it up to 150,000 miles depending on how you drive before it needs any kind of maintenance at all. Now, it is washable and reusable, so when it does come time for routine maintenance, pop it out, pressure wash it with some air, throw it right back in. No need to re-oil it. The rest of the system is a cross-linked polyethylene material, and we'll take a closer look at all of this, comparing it to stock in just a little bit. Know that this one comes in right around 400 bucks, and the install is getting 1 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Anybody can tackle this in the driveway at home with about an hour from start to finish. Cold air intakes are known to be some of the easiest mods you could do on your truck, really easiest mods you could do on a vehicle in general, because they are so straightforward. And the fact that it doesn't require a tune just makes it all that easier to just bolt up and go. I'm gonna show you guys every step of the process. What do you say we get started? All right, tools used in this install include an impact gun or a ratchet, an extension, 8mm socket or a flathead screwdriver, 10mm socket, and a Phillips head socket or a Phillips head screwdriver. All right, first step here, you're gonna disconnect the temp sensor just by disconnecting that harness. Pinch and pull back. Next step, we're gonna disconnect this hose, which is just to the left. You're gonna push up on that gray locking tab from the bottom and pull straight back. Next, we're going to take a flathead screwdriver and we're going to loosen up this clamp connecting the factory hose to the throttle body. All right, so now that we have that loosened up, we're going to pull up on this tubing to disconnect it. Now what we want to do is lift straight up on the airbox to disconnect. There's 2 little rubber plugs that these are in that are kind of retaining that in place. So we're just going to pull and disconnect it from there. There we go, and we're gonna set this aside. All right, so we got our factory intake off of our 19 Ram 5.7 behind me, and it's on the table next to our Corsa intake. Now I wanna take you through some similarities and differences between the two kits, and I wanna start with the star player, your filter. Now I took apart the factory intake to expose your flat drop-in paper element filter. Now this is something you see in almost every vehicle manufacturer off the factory line. It's a very basic drop-in filter made of a dry paper element material. Now, it's gonna do a pretty decent job filtering out particles you don't want getting into your engine. It's not completely optimizing the volume and the cold air to really drop your intake temperatures down to result in that throttle response, acceleration, horsepower, torque bump. So overall, pretty decent from the factory, not really what we want when it comes to optimization. Now this option here from Corsa is actually a Volant Performance cold air intake filter with the Donaldson Ultra Nano Web Super Microfiber material. This is also a dry filter, but the way that this is manufactured, the way that this is designed is really going to optimize airflow, dropping your intake temperatures, and it's going to increase airflow by a pretty significant percentage over the factory one. Now this is going to use a pretty unique design here. The Donaldson PowerCore filter is more of an oval or cylindrical shape compared to a lot of the aftermarket conical shapes. This is going to use those oval dry filter elements there to filter down to a smaller particle or smaller micron when it comes to the exterior things that you don't want getting inside of the engine. So this, again, better filtration, better for drop-in intake temperatures, and it's ultimately going to have a very big impact on your air intake. Now, this is also going to be a washable and reusable filter. Now, that's not something you typically get with a dry filter. Normally, the dry filters maybe can pressure wash it off with some pressurized air, maybe once or twice. This guy actually only requires routine maintenance up to 150,000 miles. So 150,000 miles can last you a couple of years without even having to think of touching that filter. And when it does come time for routine maintenance, pop it out, pressure wash it with air, throw it right back in, and you're good to go. The nice thing about dry filters is you don't have to worry about oiling them, so it's a little bit less maintenance required than some of the alternatives. So when it comes to oiled and dry filters, it really is a personal preference type of thing. Dry filters are typically better in dry climate areas seeing a lot of air pollution. Oiled filters would typically get a little bit clogged up more often and require maintenance more often in those dry climate areas, whereas dry filters might be a little bit better for you, but they're really best of both world situations. Now, this particular air intake is going to use cross-linked polyethylene plastic materials, really durable, matte black textured plastic, something that's going to dissipate heat really well. And the closed box design here is one of my favorite parts of the kit aside from the filter. The closed box is going to help keep in all of that cold air that you're pulling in. Since you're optimizing the airflow, you want to make it so it's trapped into that filter and trapped into the intake route. That's going to do that. It's also going to block out some of the excess engine bay heat because you know it can get really hot in there and you don't want heat soak on the filter. It's got this clear acrylic lens that's going to sit at the top as a lid. And that's, not only is this going to look pretty cool and give you a sight line to the filter, but you can also just check on its condition. When it comes time for routine maintenance, or if you're concerned that it's getting a little clogged up there, you can just peek under the hood, look to see its condition. If you see it's a little bit dirty, you know it's time to clean it up. Upgraded couplers are going to help make sure it's got a leak-free seal, and comparing that all to our factory intake, this is going to do a pretty good job sealing in. The factory intake used an air duct here that attaches to the front grille. You are still getting that with your Corsa option here, so you still get to maintain that track coming in from the front of the vehicle. With that said, we're going to start assembling things on the table here. We're going to start with transferring over our intake temperature sensor over to our new tubing. All right, so we're taking a look at our factory tubing here where it attaches to the throttle body. Right there is your intake temperature sensor. What you're gonna need to do is twist counterclockwise just to unlock it, and you're gonna pull it straight back. You might need to wiggle it a little bit. We're gonna set it down carefully and set our factory tubing aside. All right, so next up we're looking at our new tubing, and you kind of want to orient it just like the old one was. This is where the throttle body will go, and this is where the grommet is that we're going to insert our sensor into. So you want to make sure it's facing the same way. We know that the factory sensor has this little tab on the side that was facing the passenger side of the vehicle, so the left. So when we go to insert this, you don't want the grommet to fall in. If it does fall in, you're going to need to pop it back out. You want it to be seated exactly as it was out of the box. Also, if you need to, you can use a soap and water mixture and just lightly lubricate the ring there to help slide it in easier if you need. All right, next up, I'm going to install a couple of these couplers on our tubing here. Now, the key is making sure that you're putting the coupler on with the clamp facing in a way that it's going to help you under the hood. So you might think it's easier to put this on here just like that with the clamp facing up, but when it's installed, the tubing's going to be down, so you're not going to have access to the head of that clamp. So you really want to do it in a way that the clamp is going to be facing you in the easiest possible orientation, which is going to be about this way. So I'm going to pop this clamp on and orient that clamp just like that. You can use a flathead or an 8mm socket and tighten this down. All right, so now when it's installed like this, the clamp will be facing you. All right, now we can do the clamp on the other side with the coupler. Again, just make sure you figure out which orientation would be best to access under the hood. It's gonna sit up like that, so I want the clamp head to be facing upward, maybe even a little bit toward the front of the vehicle. Tighten that down. All right, next up, we're going to install this adapter. Now the adapter is going to go with the oval side on the inside, line up the threaded holes with the holes drilled in the airbox itself. Once you have those lined up, grab the bolts along with the split and flat washer and put them through by hand on the outside going in to the threaded holes. All right, grab your 10 socket, tighten them down. All right, dropping the airbox in is pretty simple. These two pillars that come off of the side of the airbox will line up to these knobs here on the side. There's rubber grommets underneath, and there's 2 more on the inside that'll help drop it in. And it's also just gonna line up perfectly with the air duct going to the front grille. You just push it down and it locks into place. All right, now for the tubing, make sure you have another clamp on each end. Insert that into the airbox and then line it up to the throttle body. All right, once you have the tubing inserted on both sides, make sure the tubing is lined up properly and the couplers are on all the way around, and then tighten down your clamp. All right, once you have the clamps situated properly and the couplers are completely over the tubing, tighten them down. Now we can drop our filter in face first and then rotate it into position on the filter adapter. All right, so at that point you can tighten down your clamp. All right, let's drop on our cover. Put that guy in, it really only goes in one way. Grab your Phillips head screws and you're gonna tighten them down by hand. Just thread them on a couple of threads. And then you can either grab a Phillips head screwdriver or a Phillips head socket and tighten it down with your impact gun. Just make sure if you're using an impact gun or a ratchet, you don't over tighten it because you don't wanna crack the cover or the plastic itself. All right, so I got my impact gun on its lowest setting. Let's just tighten it down. All right, last couple of steps. Let's plug in our sensor. The harness should be right there. Just plug it in so you hear the click. Very last step, on the back here, there's a tubing for the breather hose. Just plug that into the fitting on the back of the tubing and you're good to go. That's gonna wrap up my review and install for the Corsa closed box cold air intake with the Donaldson PowerCore filter, available for the 19 and newer 5.7 Ram without the classic model. Pick yours up right here at AmericanTrucks.com.